Well, guys, it's that week of the year. Tennessee versus Alabama. Obviously, the implications of this game have changed since Josh Heupel became the head coach for Tennessee. Obviously, you see the background behind me, the biggest moment in Tennessee history since I've been alive when we beat Alabama last year. And that's what we're looking to do again this year, Drew, at Alabama, coming off of a big win versus A&M where offensively we only scored one touchdown. If you would have told me that against Texas A&M, we're only going to score one touchdown on offense and win, obviously I wouldn't believe you. But Coach Banks on the defensive side has completely changed his defense from year one to year two. A lot more exotic pressures, a lot more exotic bluffs of pressure. And as far as Alabama goes, they've changed the way that they play too, resorting to the old Nick Saban style of having a great defense and being carried behind a great run game. So, Drew, kicking it to you, as far as Alabama goes this year, Nick Saban was ruled out by a lot of coaches or a lot of people after that loss to Texas, saying that he's about to retire. This is one of his last years and that he's lost it. How this Alabama team has bounced back to me is impressive. What has this bounce back from Alabama showed you?
I mean, it just continues to show me how great of a coach Nick Saban is. I mean, he's the greatest college football coach of all time, and I don't think there's any denying that. You can never rule out Nick Saban, no matter how down bad Alabama might be or seem to be. And yes, Alabama did have a bad loss to Texas, and there's a couple other games you could point out this year where Alabama's looked nowhere near where they've used to be. But this is still a good football team. There's a reason why they're still ranked as high as they are. There's a reason why they're still favored in a lot of these games. This is still a good football team behind a really good defense. They've kind of thrown it back, like you said, to more of a traditional great defense and a physical offense that runs the football. And they've had to do that due to the quarterback play and not having a Bryce Young back there. And Jalen Milroe's had some struggles with throwing the football this year. Only one game really against Texas A&M in the second half where he looked like a legitimate good quarterback. So with that being said, Alabama offensively has still struggled. They're still 86th in total offense, and that's just based off yards per game. That's not scoring offense or anything like that. And Tennessee, when you look at their defense, let's give them a lot of credit. I mean, this is a defense last year that people were laughing at. Terrible across the board statistically. This is a Tennessee defense now that is more than capable of getting stops. The Texas A&M game, like you said, they scored one offensive touchdown. And with Alabama's offense struggling as much as it is, and as Tennessee's defense playing as well as it is, this could be another low-scoring game, kind of similar to the Texas A&M Tennessee game, and that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. And I think that benefits Tennessee more in that favor because when you look at these two offenses, of course, Joe Milton might not be the best quarterback in the world and put up the greatest performances. Tennessee does have a running game that's very tough to stop. It's a running game that can kill clock, and a good run game travels better on the road as compared to a good passing offense. So I think that's another thing in Tennessee's favor.
Yeah, Drew, you just talked about it right there. We have three running backs that get legitimate carries, starting with Jalen Wright, who I think is one of the most underrated running backs in college football. The first guy never brings him down. His vision is exquisite, and he's a physical runner. Jabari Smalls, the second guy that we use, and a younger guy, Dylan Sampson, who's came on and really shown himself to be a red zone threat. I think he leads all those backs in touchdowns, being the youngest of the bunch. But you also hit the nail on the head. Joe Milton is not the same quarterback as Hendon Hooker. We have changed the offense because of Joe Milton. It is not because we have a stable of running backs and a good run blocking O line. It's because Joe Milton cannot connect on explosive plays down the field. And I've talked about it on this channel multiple times. We have also abandoned the screen game that was so good to us last year. I almost felt like we ran more screens to the receivers than we gave the ball to Jabari Smalls last year. And this year, you don't see any of that. And of course, we lost a lot of weapons on the outside, but we still have, Squirrel White and Ramel Keaton and a couple of other guys that are supposed to be taking some steps up. And that hasn't been the case so far this year. And I think one thing that could have something to do with that is just the lack of touches that they've been getting. I mean, you played receiver, how frustrating it is when you can't get into a rhythm and like you're out there on the field playing the game, but you feel like you're not a factor until it's like 3rd and 8 at the end of the first half. And then, they start throwing to you in the second because they need it. You're cold. So I think that could be one big factor there. But Joe Milton has still proven that he's inaccurate. And he's like a statue in the pocket. And I've said this whenever you see a quarterback who doesn't have a lot of starts, like a little bit antsy in the pocket and a little bit antsy making decisions, and that's why he's throwing picks. That's a lot different than a guy who's sitting there looking cool, calm, and collected and just slinging picks straight to a middle safety. A lot of people are making a big deal about the fact that he hasn't thrown an interception in the Tennessee uniform. He's played in some garbage minutes or some, some starts where he was a backup and the game plan was not built around him.
Hmm.
He's shown that when he has to move the ball as a quarterback for Tennessee, he's not going to do that. He will inhibit you. Some of the decisions he made against Texas A&M on third down, with that rollout, I think it was fourth and short or third and short, and he just kind of like ran it out of bounds. I don't know. I'm not super high on Joe Milton, but you're right. We do have a running offense this year that we have had to lean on, and it has been successful. And our defense has improved enough for that running attack alone to be enough on offense so far this season.
Yeah, another thing about Joe Milton and the receivers, you made a good point. I've played receiver, being cold. You've seen the issue with Tennessee receivers having some drops. And then you look at the Texas A&M game. Tennessee had a wide open touchdown to Ramel Keaton that Joe Milton threw, one of Joe Milton's best passes of the game, and it was just a wide open drop. I mean, it couldn't have been easier. And there's no excuse for that, but at the same time, there's got to be some mental plague amongst the receivers that's causing these drops to be an issue. And I think part of that is because of the inaccuracy issues that Joe Milton's had. When you had Hendon Hooker, you knew where that ball was going to be. You know where Hendon Hooker was going to place the ball, and he can do it 99 times out of 100. And that makes the job so much easier for these receivers. And a guy like Joe Milton who throws the ball really hard and really fast, you got to be able to, if you have that kind of power with your arm, you have to deliver in a spot where your receivers can catch it and catch it comfortably. To ask your receivers to make all these tough acrobatic catches when the ball's coming at you 230 miles an hour is just a difficult ask. Now, at the same time, though, regardless of why the issues might be, Tennessee's going to have to be able to connect on some of these deep shots in this game. Alabama's a good defense. They're going to be able to slow down the Tennessee's running game. Tennessee's going to have some success running the football, but Alabama and Nick Saban they're very well coached. They know how to adjust, and you're going to see a lot of adjustments being made as the game goes on. So, as a Tennessee a coach, you got to be able to adapt. Heupel's going to have to be able to adapt throughout the course of the game. It's a game of chess here. And it's going to be a low-scoring game, which means one play could be the deciding factor. So you got to be able to hit on everything that's given to you. And Joe Milton can't have those moments where he just throws those bad interceptions, especially in the red zone. When you get in the red zone, you have to score on the road in a game like this. Alabama's a tough place to play at. So you cannot, by any circumstance, get momentum and just throw it all away with one bad decision.
Yeah, and red zone efficiency was a problem for Tennessee against Texas A&M. Against Alabama, you've got to take those points, plain and simple. You mentioned it. Nick Saban is known for being a tactician and attacking one offensive scheme 5 or 6 different ways, and that's going to be the case for this Tennessee team. We won last year. Nick Saban has been doing everything he can to get his revenge on this. As far as Alabama's defense goes, you're 100% correct. This Nick Saban defense is solid. They are one of the best groups in college football. Their linebacker core, even though they lost Henry To'oTo'o and Moody last year, they've replaced them with a couple more absolute studs. They've been comparing some of their linebackers to Reuben Foster and C.J. Mosley and some of those guys, just to give you guys a hint of how talented this Alabama front seven is. If Alabama can stop the run against Tennessee, Tennessee could be in trouble because Joe Milton has not really been exposed yet. As like we have to throw him into the fire and take off, the blanket of security that Heupel's been putting around him with the play calling. Milton is going to have to be able to make these throws against this Alabama secondary. You mentioned it. This front seven is absolutely monstrous. And if Nick Saban doesn't trust that Milton will throw the football, he will stack the box and he will be able to stop the run. This is going to be the best front seven that we've played against. I know that we just ran for a couple hundred against Texas A&M, but that's at home, different environment. This Nick Saban Alabama team is not going to roll over like that, and they got us at home coming off a revenge game. So that's the main thing that worries me. This Alabama defense is absolutely star-studded. We've come to expect that. But as far as offense goes, In the last 5 games, their O line has allowed 4 more sacks. You know, you cannot win against the top echelon of SEC teams getting sacked 4 or 5 times consistently. That just cannot be the case. And it's been no secret this year. Jalen Milroe has not been able to have time to throw the football this year in a lot of situations. And in that Arkansas game, Alabama's offense was getting themselves into a lot of third and longs, Drew. You know, at that point, a lot of coverage busts from Arkansas on those third downs. You know, a lot of Milroe's throws were wide open to some wide open receivers. That's not going to be the case against Tennessee. You know, so if we do get Alabama's offense in the third and longs, Jalen Milroe is going to have to make some plays. Now he did against Texas A&M. I thought that he stepped up. You know, specifically finding Jermaine Burton, who only had 3 targets, I think, against Arkansas, in which they only won by 3 points. So Jermaine Burton, we're going to have to be keying on him. You know, our corners, Kamal Haddon and number 1, they've been playing better. They both had a pick last game. And this is another game where they could get a pick. You know, Tennessee, James Pierce absolutely put on a clinic, put himself on the map with the performance he had against Texas A&M. Also, Tyler Barron, Omar Norman-Lott is coming back. So our D-line is star-studded. If we do, and when we do get pressure on Jalen Milroe, that's when he can make some questionable throws, trying to do a little too much. That's when the picks can come in for our secondary. So that's what I'm hoping for. Alabama does have a strong rushing attack. Their O-line, I will say, looks completely different in the run game compared to the pass protection, Drew. I've never seen anything like that from like an elite college football team before. Like that passes and throws balanced. You know, they look good in the run game. They're getting to the second level, hat on a hat, big holes, but they cannot pass protect to save their life. And if Tennessee stops the run and forces them to throw, I could see, you know, Tennessee coming out and surprising Alabama at home.
Well, we got Alabama 8.5-point favorites. I got this off of CBS Sports. You're going to look at different places and you're going to see 9, 9.5, wherever you may look. For the purposes of this video, we got 8.5 points. With all that being said, Aiden, you did a great job covering that, and I'm going to go ahead and get into my prediction. 8.5 points for a game that I think is going to be low scoring is a lot of points. I just don't see a scenario based on how Alabama looked last week, and when you kind of look at Tennessee and the wins they're coming off of, I think this is a Tennessee team that's gotten a lot better. It's hard for me to predict a team to beat Nick Saban twice in a row, 2 years back to back. But at the same time, Alabama's not covering this 8.5-point spread. This is going to be another classic game. I think this is going to be a more traditional low scoring. I think this game could come down to the last possession where a drive has to be made and a field goal wins the game. It's not going to be 52-49. I'm expecting maybe more of a 20-17, maybe a 24-20 kind of game. I think Alabama is going to get it done, but they are not covering the 8.5-point spread. And I predict, you know, Tennessee has that tough stretch of 3 games. You know, Texas A&M on the road at Alabama, and then on the road at Kentucky. I predicted Tennessee to go 2-1 with a loss to Alabama, and I'm not going to go back on that right now. I think Alabama wins, but give me Tennessee in the points.
Yeah, Drew, I just spent, you know, 10 minutes talking about how I think Tennessee has a chance, but if I'm being realistic here, I think that Nick Saban gets it done at home. Probably wins by double digits. Psych! Psych! Like I said in the last prediction, you see this background behind me. Biggest moment since I've been alive as a Tennessee fan. You think that Heupel's going to miss another opportunity to beat Nick Saban in Alabama? We are coming on a vengeance tour to Alabama, and we are going to go pop Nick Saban in the mouth pre, during, and post game. There's no love lost between these two teams. This is how it is every single year. Bazooka Joe Milton running like 2008 Tim Tebow in this game. We are going to be using his legs. We are not going to give Alabama enough opportunities to be up by 8.5 in the first place. It's not even going to get to that because Tennessee wins balls by 100 points.
Well, there you guys have it. Alabama and Tennessee preview prediction. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. All those things go a long way to helping our channel out. We got a couple more preview predictions coming out for you guys this week. And be sure to leave down below in the comment sections the keys to this game. Leave some score predictions, whatever you guys desire to leave. And we'll be able to take a look at that and reply to a lot of you guys' comments. But that's going to do it, guys. We'll see you in the next one.